Well, regardless of the political debate, both the MOU and Guilbeault's resignation is causing one group that is very much in favor of this new energy deal is the Business Council of British Columbia. Take a look at the statement the group released on the MOU, simply stating this is good. And with more, we're now joined by Laura Jones, the council's president and CEO. Laura, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So I'll begin with a very simple question. Why this overwhelming, if not entirely short, statement of support? What benefit do you think this MOU will actually bring to British Columbia?
It's probably the shortest press release we've ever done at the Business Council of British Columbia. This is good. So I'll elaborate on it a little bit. I think it's very good for the province of British Columbia and for the country. So for a couple of reasons. First of all, of course, a memorandum of understanding is not in and of itself a project, and we'd be many years out from an actual project in this space. But what this memorandum of understanding does is it sends a clear message to investors that Canada is open for business, that we are prepared to say yes to projects and the possibility of projects. Of course, there are things that will need to be worked out along the way, but that we are prepared to say yes, we are open for business. And that is really critical right now for this country because our economy is not in great shape. And as we know, we need to diversify our exports. And exports from this sector are just critical. So our oil represents about a quarter of our exports, $150 billion a year. So this is a very good day for Canada.
And yet we continue to hear Premier Eby express his concerns about this MOU and really about any pipeline, because he clearly believes that the discussion of a new oil pipeline is at this point a distraction. Also adds to it that it undermines the kind of trust that the First Nations have given to the provincial government to move on other matters. Do you share any of that concern?
Well, I would say that it is important to have the trust and to work with First Nations on these projects. Environmental concerns are also very important, and you're not going to go ahead with a pipeline at any cost. That's not what we're talking about here. But what we're talking about here is being open to the possibility of a pipeline. And again, that sends a very important message to investors, not just to investors who might be interested in this project, but to investors who might be interested in other projects in Canada, that we are open for business. And I think that that's really critical.
Critical, as you say, but I'm thinking about the most recent Angus Reid poll that came out last night, and it does show that the majority of British Columbians are in favor of some type of pipeline, although it's a bare majority. I think it sits at about 53% of British Columbians. Talk to us about the work that needs to be done to get people in the province on side, because without public support, one wonders how far this is going to go.
I think if a pipeline were to go forward, it would need to be an and proposition. So it can't be the pipeline at the expense of environmental considerations. It needs to be an and proposition. And there's another poll I heard about today from the Canadian Federation of Independent Business doing a poll of their small business members saying that 9 out of 10 of them think that both these pipelines can go forward with appropriate environmental conditions in place. And I think that's where a lot of British Columbians and a lot of Canadians sit. So it's not a blank check. We need to make sure that we are looking after the environment and protecting the environment, and we need to make sure that it's done with appropriate consultation with First Nations.
Well, to that, the biggest point of contention seems to be the Hecate Strait and having oil tankers in BC's northern waters. Do you see an alternative to it? Because really, with either Kitimat or Prince Rupert, that's where a tanker would theoretically go, through the Hecate Strait, the North Shore. Right now, there is a moratorium on shipping there, on oil tankers there. Is there a less contentious route that might actually work?
I think there very well may be a less contentious route that would work, and that's something that obviously people would need to really consider, is what does that look like? And I look at when the province decided to go forward with LNG, one of the things it did was there was no blank check, just go forward with LNG with no constraints, no other considerations. There were 5 conditions put on the development of that sector here. And I think you'd probably be looking at something like that for the coast. But that's kind of a long way. That's a little bit further down the road. I think for today, what this memorandum does is it says Canada is open for business, and not just with the idea that we're open to a pipeline, by the way. There's some really destructive policy that we're now not going forward with. So there was a proposed emissions cap that was a big cloud of uncertainty on Canada's investment climate, and that proposed emissions cap is not going forward, which is another very good thing, not just for Canada overall, but for British Columbia, because that emissions cap would have been very, very problematic for British Columbia's gas sector. It was so problematic that it was requiring emissions reductions that were greater than the actual emissions. So it was an emissions cap that made 0 sense, and it's very good to see that one kicked to the curb.
Laura Jones, appreciate the thoughts on this. Thank you. We'll speak again soon.
Thanks.